Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Bill on Bikes. We're at my facility, the motorcycle garage here in Phoenix, Arizona. A very hot Phoenix, Arizona. It's going to be 117 degrees here today. We've had over 10 days straight of 110 degrees plus. I don't have AC in the back because of the open ceilings, and I keep the doors open all the time. I do have it out front, so I would just lose all the AC if I had it anyway, and it would just go out the doors. So I have it out front. If I need a break, I go out and I just take an extra break and drink a lot of water. What we got going in the shop this week, 2006 VROD. It's going to be getting a full service. I'm going to show you what that looks like. We're going to bleed the brakes, bleed the clutch. We're actually going to flush everything. It looks like it has some sort of coolant leak. Not really sure what that is. So my plan of attack will be, let's get a new battery in it. This bike's been sitting for a long time. I think the last time he said it was registered was, well, he's got a later sticker there, but I think he told me it's been a couple years that this has been sitting. So we'll take the air box off and remove the battery, pop a new one in. Let's see if we can get it running, and we'll go from there. Some other projects going on in the shop. Let me take you over and show you. And I'll walk you over and we'll take a look what we have going on. This is an 05 Dyna Lowrider, starter issues, inner primary leaks, transmission seals leaking. We're going to take care of all that. Replacement chrome bolts, side cover, tranny top. That's anything I can pretty much get to. We're going to put chrome bolts on. Then of course over here we still have our shovel head project going, which the month of August is going to be when I start getting back into this. I would love to get this pretty much close to completion. It's been here for a long time, and quite honestly, this will be the last shovel head, as far as a project goes, that I'll probably ever do. It's just too much of a pain to get the parts, and a lot of the parts you can get now are coming from overseas, just not good quality stuff. So you have to try to hunt down some original parts, and then if they come in and they need like powder coating, whatever, you got to get them repowdered and straightened up. So I don't know. We'll see, but it probably will be the last shovel I do as far as the project goes. And go down here, obviously we got the VROD we're going to be going back to in a little bit. You're going to watch that with me today. And this is our Fat Boy project. The powder coat, I have been told, is in. Probably get to this in the next couple weeks. I got a whole big thing of parts here. All those parts on that shelf right there are all for that bike. And then we have our Springer project. I do have that Springer front end here. I got a bunch of bikes waiting outside. So that's where we're at, guys. We'll get going on this service on this 06 VROD, and I hope you enjoy, and let's get going. Okay, well, it seems that every VROD I ever take apart, they're never assembled correctly, especially when it comes to the induction side of it. So we have our velocity stacks. As you can see, you have the three mounting screws here for the velocity stacks, the tall one for the front, a short one for the rear. You see this O-ring here? This O-ring should be down below this little plastic tab here. There's 3 tabs on each velocity stack, and this should fit down like this over that tab, and that will stop this screw if it becomes loose, because they have a very low amount of torque on them. If it backs out, it will not get sucked up into the velocity stack and basically destroy your top end. That can be a very expensive fix. I've seen it happen. Guys take these apart all the time. First of all, they never torque anything, and when they reassemble, they leave the O-rings up. The O-rings go down below the tabs on the velocity stack as a safety to make sure that screw, if it becomes loose, does not go into the velocity stack. Also, the airbox cover was missing. Really not a need. I know you think you're getting a lot more airflow, but the snorkel that's in front of this, and I can't remember the flow rate, but it's a lot. It far exceeds the amount of air that you need, and you're not really gaining much by taking the actual airbox cover off. So just something I find on VRODs all the time, something to look out for. And also, if you're not running the cover, they've taken their intake air temperature sensor and they've just stuffed it up here on top of the battery. Normally this would go into the top of the air box. So not really going to be much I'm going to be able to do with that, other than maybe I might mount it somewhere else. We'll see when I get into that. But so I'm going to go along with the disassembly. I just wanted to point that out. You want to make sure you put these down in place at the time of the assembly. Just getting our new battery installed here, and I just want to point out a couple of things. One, I like to lube the battery a little bit to help it go in, because this one's hanging up on me. So I usually put a little Windex or something like that. I'll just spray the battery. Everything's tight in these VRODs, and on this side they went and added a DynoJet power commander. There we go. And this is sitting on top, and they have the connection over here under the left side cover. It just makes such a mess. There's just not a lot of room. That's the only thing I really don't like about these, the connection. This should have a connection in the back, somewhere maybe under the passenger seat, and then we could run the wires and up forward to the connections that we need. But for some reason, I guess, well, it's probably a lot cheaper for DynoJet to do it this way, but there's just not a lot of room, and it makes it very difficult to get the battery in and keep your connections in the proper place. But not much I can do about that right now. So we're gonna hook up our batteries. You notice I always take the battery strap and I put it up over the air box tabs. It gets it out of the way so we can get the battery in place. What we're gonna do is we're gonna bring the strap down, that in position, and then we can hook up our positive terminal. Also, we're using a Deca battery, and when you use a Deca battery, Deca makes the same batteries for Harley. So the Harley batteries are made by Deca. The only difference is the battery post is flush with the case. So in a Deca, you have to use this little spacer here between the cable and the bolt. If you forget these, you'll get a bad connection. I get guys that put these in all the time, and they have a bad connection because they don't use the spacer. So you have to make sure you use the spacer, and the flat side, which is pretty obvious, goes against the bottom of the case. So pretty simple. And we're always going to connect our positive first. 60 inch-pounds, 10 millimeter. Now this is just temporary actually. I may end up taking this out again. But I want to get the bike running. It's been sitting so long. One, to find our coolant leak, and to also get the oil circulating before we change it and put new oil in. And our spacer. And you'll also notice I've everything taped up here, so if we do drop something, it's not going to end up in the engine. That would not be a good thing. Again, it makes it more difficult when you have all this extra wire up here and things in the way. VRODs are tight as it is. Set our torque. All right. Now, I'm going to pull the cap off I have here on the breather, because we are going to run this. Make sure everything's clear up here and nothing can fall into the intake. All right, that's good for now. We may end up changing this. I'm definitely going to route this differently. Probably, if I have the room, it's going to be over here, but we'll see when we get everything squared away. I got to find a place for the DynoJet, for the power vision. It's probably going to sit here where they had it, but we'll sit it there for now. All right, boys and girls, the struggle is real. As you can see, the left side radiator cover screw has been over tightened. I've been working on this now for 5 minutes. I'm grinding it so I can try to get in there with a chisel to actually get it loose and chisel it off. There's no reason to over torque these screws. The torque spec on these is like 5 to 6 Newton meters, which is what, 40 to 50 inch-pounds? It's ridiculous. Everybody goes in here, they crank these things up, they strip out the screw, and then, you know, I come along, or someone like me, a technician, and you have to work at this to try to get them loose. It happens all the time. Use a torque wrench, and you won't have these issues. We'll get it though, but it is frustrating. Ah, success. It looks like we got it. Yes. That's what happens when you over torque things. I got to do stuff like that. We found our leak. Looks like it's just the drain on the radiator, so that's not that big of a deal. We'll drain that fluid, we'll flush the system, put new fluid in, and continue with our service. Getting that side cover screw out was an absolute pain. That's why I just don't want to over torque stuff. There's torque specs for a reason. You also want to note on any of these bikes that have a radiator, you want to get all the debris out. That's part of a good service. You don't want to have that stuff sitting in there. So, clean bench, clean radiator, we'll start draining the fluid. All right guys, well we have another problem. When I went to remove the drain, it broke because it was not secured all the way into the radiator. That allowed coolant to get around the threads, and it's corroded, and these are just plastic so they break easy. We're gonna have to easy out that. And another thing, when you're working on a VROD, 5mm is your best friend. I use these Allens almost, there's so many 5mm Allens on this engine, on this chassis. This is your best friend when working on a VROD. Then I like the ball end, because you can get into places you normally can't with a regular Allen. Just a little tech tip. All right, we're gonna get this out and we'll go from there. All right, I think we're gonna get this. As you notice, I've put a screwdriver in the center of it, and if that way, if it fell in the radiator, which this one actually did, the screwdriver would hold it in place so it wouldn't drop down, and it would be inside the radiator. I'd never get it out. So what I've done is grabbed it with some needle nose. I'm working it out here. I think we're gonna be able to get this. It's pretty close. That's a good section of it. Another little piece in here. We'll put our screwdriver back in to hold it. If this was easy, everybody would do it. All right. Well, it's been about an hour, and I finally just about have it out. Voila, success, both pieces. If I had left that in there, it could have clogged one of the ports. It's just, you have to get it all out. It's a pain in the butt, but that's why I get the big bucks.